legal-related tips do you have for small business owners and entrepreneurs? Part 2. Welcome back. This is part 2 of a 4-part series. Check out the previous video for my first 3 legal-related tips for small business owners and entrepreneurs. Before I jump into today, I'm required to remind you that although I am a lawyer, I am not your lawyer. These tips are for general informational and educational purposes only and do not constitute legal advice. You should always consult with a licensed attorney who is familiar with your unique circumstances and goals and use common sense. So, without further ado, tips 4 through 6. Number 4, start maintaining accurate corporate records now. Now, I know that everyone hates corporate record keeping, but it really does not need to be complicated or burdensome. One of the many benefits of the LLC structure is that record-keeping requirements are much more flexible and lax compared to a traditional corporation and Inc. structure. At minimum, keep a file, which can be in a manila folder or an electronic file on your laptop, where you retain fundamental corporate documentation like copies of your state registration, the letter the IRS gave you assigning you your EIN number, your business licenses and permits, and your corporate governing documents. If you make any major decisions, like transferring a portion of your ownership interests, even if it's just to your spouse or your kid rather than to an unrelated third party, although definitely then too, memorialize this in writing through a resolution, contract, adjustment to the ledger, or something. When it's time to sell your company or transfer shares to your children, or when the IRS has a question, future you will thank past you for your diligence and all the time and money that you'll save for not trying to piece together a corporate history years after the fact. Number 5, understand employment law basics before you hire anyone. This tip could very easily be the basis of its own 10-part series. Do you live in a state where the employment relationship by default is at will, meaning that either the employer or the employee can terminate the relationship at any time for almost any legally permissible reason? Will the employee be paid in accordance with the Fair Labor Standards Act, as well as with state-specific wage and hour laws with respect to minimum wage, overtime pay, breaks, and record-keeping matters? Are you hiring enough employees that FMLA or state level leave requirements become applicable? Do you want to impose restrictive covenants like non-competition or non-solicitation requirements on your employees? And if so, are they even allowed under your particular circumstances? Do you understand state and federal requirements around background checks and drug testing during the hiring process? This is just scratching the surface. If you're overwhelmed, talk to a lawyer who can help you navigate the process. Number 6, obtain appropriate insurance coverage. Okay, so this is eventually going to be its own separate video post to break down the different types of insurance coverage that may be available to you as a small business owner and when you might need them. But for now, some policies, like a general commercial liability insurance policy, are prudent to have for just about any owner. Some policies, like professional or malpractice liability, may be required by law for particular professions. Sometimes contracts with major vendors, suppliers, or institutional clients will require particular types of coverage and specific coverage limits. For example, a cyber liability insurance policy with a $1 million per occurrence, $3 million aggregate coverage limits as a condition to doing business with you, although your lawyer can sometimes negotiate these provisions down a little bit. And some policies depend on the nature of your business. So if you have a fleet of delivery drivers or service providers traveling to client sites in company vans, you'll need company auto insurance and so forth. If you have a lawyer, she doesn't need to be, and in fact probably shouldn't be, too heavily involved in these decisions, but they can provide some advice based on what they're seeing in the market or offer referrals to insurance advisory firms and brokers. Okay, part 3 is coming soon. Business owners, share your own favorite tips and insights, legal or otherwise, in the comments for the benefit of your peers.